Alright, welcome to part 2. So we've managed to do the asset import, so that's done. The next thing was the car setup, so we'll just get started with that. So the car setup should be relatively easy. So I see, just looking around, that the race car green is a top level game object, which we could add the car script to, that can control the wheel colliders. Now there is 4 wheels, and there's the body, and it looks like we should be able to add the rigid body to this top one, the collider to this one, and then the wheel colliders above and parents of each of those wheels. But one shocking thing that I just see right now is that the whole thing is facing the wrong way. So the z-axis, the forward axis, is that way, which is probably going to cause us some problems, but hey, what do you know, let's just sort it anyway. So we need this one. This is set at 0, 0, 0. So I really just think that the best thing to do is just get started, and we'll just use these components as the visual meshes, and we'll just rotate them so 180 degrees are in Y. So race car green, we need a couple of components in there. We need the rigid body, because it's going to be a physical object, and we want it to probably have some mass, so I'll go with 100, so that's like a tenth of the weight of a real car, and less than that even, and leave all the constraints as they are. I might actually switch off angular drag as well. We don't want any drag that isn't part of the wheel collider, so we don't want it to resist rotation. So they're both drag and angular drag are set to 0. As a child of that, we do need a collider, so this luckily has got a mesh collider, we've already said, but because it's a rigid body, we're going to make this convex. So you'll see that you get the shape. Now we have to rotate this 180 degrees around. Immediately you see that you have an issue, because we're rotating around the pivot point. It's going to go off center. So what we'll do is just kind of like move it back in. I'm going to use these the views and go into isometric to try and see where things are. Press F. So the very center of the world is these grey lines. So if I center it just visually to where it kind of should be, so it's approximately equal. We might have to tweak this again when we come around to it, but that'll do for now. And for the wheels, we should be okay. Both those wheels are actually facing the right way now, in that because we have them basically they're named wrong, I think that's what it is. So that says it's the back left, when actually it's not, it's the front right. So you know, I could go with that and just rename them. Yeah, I think that's probably the best thing. So I'm just going to rename it to front right, and this one is front left. This one is the back right, meaning that this one must be the back left. So that saved a bit of a mission, having to rotate all of those ones as well, just because they will fit. They're not in position yet, and what we need to do for the next part, so we have the convex rigid body collider. the collider for the rigid body, I should say, is already on here. So if you were to press play, oh, actually there's one little tip. The camera is way over here. What we're going to do is we want to be able to play and see what happens. So I'm going to move it to here, and if you go to edit, and then there is, oh, there it is, it's under game object, and it's align with view. So I've selected the camera and I'm saying align with view, and what it does is it moves the camera to exactly where my view is, which is incredibly handy. So align with view just puts it in here. So I hit and play, you'll see we get physics, and it hits the ground and it falls over. So that's a pretty good start. But obviously we want to get ourselves some wheels. So what I'm going to do is I've got the race car green selected. I'm just going to right click on it and I'm going to create an empty. Now this empty, I'm just going to call it wheel, and I'm just going to say left front. So wheel left front. I really should keep the naming conventions correct, shouldn't I? So wheel front left. And then what we're going to do is just with these four things right now, I'm just going to move them up out of the way so that we can see what this is. So this right now is just an empty game object, but what we're going to add to that is we're going to add a wheel collider. So if you add the wheel collider component to it, you get all of these amazing options. We'll go into them in a little bit more depth, but the bottom line is it gives you a wheel. You can see on here, you see this this green thing is the is the wheel collider, and this is made for a standard car, and it's obviously way too big. So I'm just going to click and drag to get a value that I think's about right. So I really should have moved these wheels down. So click on a wheel, move it down in here-ish, and then wheel left front. So they're not exactly in line, but it will give me an idea of what's happening. So if I just move this across to here, you'll see that it's about right. What was that? A radius of 0.2 looks like it's about right. So maybe slightly less, 0.15, and that looks like it could be about right for the wheel. So I'm just moving it around now to kind of like put it into position so I get a rough idea of where it is and how it fits. So it looks like it's a bit bigger than the wheel, which isn't a massive deal. 0.113, yeah, we'll go with 1.4. So 0.14 we know is about right for the wheels. So move the visual mesh out the way, and what I'm going to do is just get this wheel organized. So if I go to, I wanted that one to be the front left, so I'm going to just go to the top view. I'm going to do isometric so that we can see exactly where it is, and I'm going to move it into position. So I feel like it kind of has to be on the axle. I pressed F there and it zoomed all the way out, which is annoying, but so I feel like it should be on the axle, just slightly out of it. I know it seems really weird, and I might need to play around with it a little bit, but now that we've got it kind of in position, this is going to be a child of it, this wheel right here. So I've got wheel front left as a child of race car green, and if I take front left wheel and drag it onto wheel front left, oh yeah, prefab. So because it was a mesh, we're going to stuff around with it and turn it back into prefab, but what we need to do is right click and then unpack that prefab so that we can repack it once we've made the changes. So the front left wheel goes onto wheel front left. That's the collider, that is the mesh, and I'm going to just reset its position. So that looks pretty good. Wherever that wheel collider is where this wheel is going to be. So this is what I need more of, so I'm going to Control D to duplicate, and then I'm going to move it across. Now this one here is minus 0.211, so if I make that minus 0.2, that's a good number, then this one should be positive 0.2. However, we don't want a copy of that. We just want to use the other one. So wheel front left, we can rename that to wheel front right, and we can put the front right wheel mesh onto it and reset the position. So we have two wheels. Now they seem slightly offset. So they're the right height, but they do look like they're offset. So I think that could actually just be that the body is not in the middle. So it's maybe just a couple of pixels missing. So I'll move it a bit to the left. I'm kind of doing this by eye. Alright, so we have this wheel collider, and shift click on, control click on that wheel collider, because I'm going to duplicate those and put them back. So Control D will duplicate, use the blue arrow, pull them back. It's taken them to approximately the right place. Both of them, weirdly enough, have inherited or duplicated the mesh as well. So this one is the wheel back left, and this one is the wheel back right, and we need back right to go on to back right and reset the position, and we need back left to go on to back left and again reset position. So yeah, back out of ISO, have a little look. If we may get problems. I haven't really changed the spring and damper and things, but if we press play, we get a weird sort of floaty thing going on. So one little thing with gizmos selected, you can actually see what's going on here. You can see all the wheel colliders. If I've selected the race screen, I've got gizmos on in the view. You can see what's going on with the colliders. So if I was to go into scene view as well and zoom in, you can see that the suspension length is is ridiculous, and it looks like there's something going on with the force point as well for both of these. So yeah, let's just fix those. So we have each of the wheel colliders, and I'm just going to fold them away and just shift click so I can select all of them. So they've got a massive 20, a radius of, they've all got a radius of 0.14. The wheel damping rate, the suspension distance, yeah, that should definitely be a lot less. So I'm going to say 0.05. You should see already in the collider here the little what colour is that? It's like an orangey brown colour. That's how much it's going to move, and you can see already it's just already a lot better. The suspension force application point distance is the little green dot, and you want that to be, because we want cartoon physics, we want it to be basically really high. If it's low down, the tendency is that the thing's going to tip over. What I'm also going to do is change the suspension spring. So I know that if I'm like a tenth of the weight of a car, if I just take a 0 off of each of those, then you know that's best guess for spring and damper, and then we'll give it a test. So yeah, hitting play, have a little look at this. So it looks slightly better. It does kind of seem to have a bit too much damping, so I'm going to take the damping is how much it stops the motion, so I'll take that down to 100 and just hit go again, see what happens. And you can play around with these values as well. You see it kind of bounced a bit more as it did that. which is kind of what you're after. It kind of get the idea that maybe the damping could be up just a touch. So instead of, I'll maybe make it 200, and the spring value looks okay, but if you get weird artifacts, you can change that up or down. And that's pretty much it. So we're gonna quit this video, and in the next one we'll be adding some code.